All right, and we are live. Hi, guys. My name is Aisha, and I work in the marketing team at Fusia. We are an online community for women where you can showcase your talent, and we do this through expressing the creative side of you, and experiential learning. And today we have a very special guest who I will introduce to you in a bit. But before that, I'd like to know if I'm audible. And if I am, please hit a thumbs up in the comment section so that I know all's clear. And also, if you guys could tell me what are you expecting from today's live, because this topic is it sounds serious, but it's important and it's not that difficult. It's very easy. So I'm going to bring in our guest right away. Her name's Dipika Jaikishan. Hi, Deepika.
Hey, hi guys. Hi
If you could
Aisha.
open and wave at our audience.
Hello everyone. Welcome to this conversation.
Awesome. So Deepika is a co-founder and chief operating officer at Basis, and she spent over a decade in personal finance industry. At Basis, she guides women like you towards making informed financial decisions. After her bachelor's in business management, she worked with financial planning firms such as International Money Matters, and she went on to having leadership role with Fisdom, a wealth management technology startup. So Deepika has managed portfolios of over 100 crore in value and has conducted over 1,200 plus financial awareness conversations that have impacted 3 lakh plus individuals across companies. So, guys, she is kind of a big deal and she is here to help you out. So, Deepika, over to you. The stage is yours.
Thanks Aisha. Thanks for that introduction and I'm looking forward to this chat. I would request everyone to be as interactive as you possibly can. We would love to see your comments. We would love to hear from you. And yeah, as we all know, the conversation today is about setting financial goals early on in your life and working towards them in a fairly systematic manner. I'm pretty sure all of us have one form of investment or the other, but chances are we haven't structured this stuff really well. And hopefully, we're going to change the way we approach that after today. Yeah, moving forward. Yeah. So, as Asha mentioned, I'm the co founder and COO at Basis. Basis is a community and content driven financial services platform for hyper focused on women, only focused on women, in fact. And for those who are from India, we are going to be doing an exercise through the conversation. So I would request you to download Basis. Unfortunately, it's only available in India right now, but I would request you to download Basis either on the App Store or the Play Store, whichever device you are on, because the whole bit of goal planning, we're going to do some part of that exercise on the app and help you make certain calculations relevant to you. Yeah, so Basis was founded by my childhood friend. So Hannah and I go way back to middle school, and she'd worked in fintech and worked in payments, both in India and the US for over 10 years. I'd worked in wealth management for over 12 years, literally only worked in wealth management. And it just made sense to bring these synergies together, especially because we identified the pain points women have when it comes to money and wanted to address it with a scalable proposition and a platform such as Basis. Yeah. Cool. And we would love some responses here. So I have asked you to probably put down 3 words to describe your relationship with money. Just think of money as a person, like just think of it. I'm thinking of a human being I know. And how would you describe your relationship with money? If I could just see some of your responses in the comments.
Okay, I for one would this question is very interesting for me. So I for one would like to comment on this. My relationship with money is it's something that is short seen, like it's short lived, because it has been like that since I've started working. So it's something that comes and goes. That is my relationship with money. Anjali here is says it's anxiety, security, and access. So there are really interesting responses. Deepika, why don't you comment
Yeah,
on what you feel
no,
about them?
no, I love both Anjali and Shreya's especially. So it's like quicksand, literally. It is like that for most of us, including me, unless we structure some part of it. And yeah, Anjali, like anxiety, security, access. This is pretty much three. One, of course, pain points. Two, I would say desires we want out of money. We want that security, we want access, and we don't want that anxiety about dealing with money. Yeah. Moving on to the next question. Yeah, this should be an easy one. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your knowledge of money management currently? And let's be honest and candid. Nobody's judging anybody here. Okay, Asha says 4. Priya, Anjali, Shreya, 3. Okay, we're going to change that today for sure. 7, not bad like that, Anjali. Good to know. 3. Okay, okay. So we're not averaging at great numbers, but we're going to change that today. And for all of you who are in your 7s and 8s, I'm sure you can also add value to this conversation going forward. Yep, if we can move on. So I think it's important to note, and we're all aware of it, we've heard about this stuff. As women, we do have a complicated relationship with money. Some part of it is attributed to, of course, the relationship like we shared, anxiety and just wanting security and access. And some part of it has so much to do with other social factors. One, starting with the fact that 90% of us will have to manage our own finances at some point in our lives. Irrespective of which country you are probably going to have to manage your money on your own at some point in life. And also the fact that we're all aware of this stuff, right? As women, we do tend to take more career breaks. They can be attributed to probably childcare. They can be attributed to elderly care. They can just be attributed to things like just wanting to take a break once in a while, and all of which affects, of course, the way we save and we invest our money. If we can just move ahead, Aisha. And yeah, and of course, I think the main factor, which is much ignored, women have much higher healthcare costs, which we don't factor in when we build our goals or savings. And I think it's so important to talk about that. And when we talk to women, this is mostly what we get as responses when it comes to, hey, why don't you plan your goals, or why don't you save towards them? It's always like, hey, I don't know where I should start. My husband or my father or some other male member, possibly my relationship manager, a friend, a cousin advises me. This is just too difficult for me to understand. And where do I even begin? And yeah, I think, of course, we're all predisposed to the word risk, and we don't understand it as much. And I think for people who do invest in FDs, and I say this a lot, for people who invest in FDs and RDs, or probably investments that give you like that fixed security, you are taking the most risk with your money. It's not the people who are investing in the stock markets, etc. The ones who are actually investing in all these assets and trying to be too safe, you are taking the most risk with your money. And we're going to change that conversation today. Yeah. So we talked about this. And yeah, I think most importantly, we're really good at managing money. Let's give ourselves credit for that. There's this very interesting book. It's called Warren Buffett Invests Like a Girl. The title may sound sexist, but it is really good in understanding the approach that he has to investments. And it's very much like a woman would approach investing. And as we are aware, Warren Buffett is Warren Buffett. So yeah, it's just nice to know that the world's best investor probably invests like a woman. Yeah. I did want to throw light on this particular stat because like I said earlier, a lot of us tend to depend on the male members in our family to advise us on managing our money. But this is a reality. I've not made up this number. It's from a Standard and Poor's research, which says that 73% of Indian men and 80% of Indian women are not financially literate. That's talking about people like us, working urban people. So if we were to translate this number, only 27% of men and only 20% of women are financially literate. And that is a huge problem. So ladies, if you're depending on the men, they don't know a lot more than we do. And I think irrespective of gender, there's a lot to learn for yeah, both genders here. So I think if we were just to talk about things that we probably didn't do right pre-COVID, and I'd say pre-COVID, but we're still probably in some part of it, not accounting well enough for our lifestyle expenses, which affects the way we saved and the way we spend. So obviously, if you were to relook at your bank statement in Jan and Feb last year and compare it to your bank statements of now, perhaps, or it's going to look really different because the way you're saving or spending has changed for forever. And I know some part of it would have gone back, defaulted to the way we spent earlier. But for those who were affected by pay cuts or affected by a family member or somebody losing their job, so things like that really affect how we spend. And like I said earlier, sticking to traditional investments has been a problem, which is FDs, RDs, and things like that, where we're keeping money too secure. So that is a problem. And not following a structured financial framework. So chances are you do have investments, but hey, they're not structured. So I'm not sure if they're working for me. And this is something which is very relevant to the current environment, irrespective of which country you are in. We are all affected by something called the recency bias. It's a very simple behavioral science concept where it just talks about the most recent events which affect the way that we approach money. And if I would have had this conversation with you in March last year when the global markets were tanking, you all would have probably said things like, hey, I don't want to invest, let me just keep all my money safe. And now if things, while things are changing and they look so like optimistic, everyone's like, hey, I want to invest all my money into the markets right now. And I think both these extremes are a problem. So we should not just be affected by the most recent events. We should, of course, think of the bigger picture. I do see Anjali's question on saving taxes. I will address that a little later in the conversation, Anjali, for sure. Yeah. So as women, we're very diligent savers. We're more agile in changing markets. We're very optimistic. If I were to say problem points, where we try to avoid uncertainty risk, and we try to keep too much money liquid, which in my opinion is a problem. And of course, we need money liquid and accessible, but not too much that it's not working for you. So yeah, coming back to this, which I talked about earlier, this has really changed the way we spend and save. So this was literally my situation last year, where I was like, hey, this 6-8 months, no spending or no unnecessary expenses, of course. Yeah. And yeah, I love this bit. Girls just want to have funds, which is so relevant. There is nothing wrong in wanting to save money. There is nothing wrong in wanting to invest. There is nothing wrong in asking questions about investments, irrespective of it's a family member or your financial advisor or bank relationship manager. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think we need to talk about money all the more. And yeah, hey, let's just have fun managing money and learning more. And quickly, so of course, we all have very different behavioral aspects and the way we deal with money. So you could either deal with money this way, where, a lot of us don't really think about the way we spend too much, are probably a little more free spirited when it comes to spending, if I may say so. And yeah, there is another extreme, the next lady we're going to see. who is perhaps stressed. I'm one of those. I have worked on that a lot and changed. Otherwise, I was perpetually stressed about, oh, am I investing enough? Am I getting to my goals? Are these things even working for me? And yeah, I've changed that. But I think there has to be a fine balance between spending and saving. We don't want to be on either extreme. We want to have fun with what we're earning, and yeah, basically we just want to use our money well. We've all, of course, heard about this term, which is so condescending to women, gold digger. But we're changing that today and calling it gold digger because that's actually what we are as women. We have financial goals. We will set our financial goals and work towards them very actively. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. And oh, thanks, Anjali. That I like presenting it that way too. It makes it very boring for me any other way. So I've actually taken this image from a book called The Behavior Gap. It's actually, the name is down there. So you could actually buy the book. I think it's a great book. It's by an author called Carl Richards. It's a great book for you to understand in the simple diagrammatic format about money and just your relationship, what you should be changing about it. So, what I would urge each one of us to do is, let's not be, of course, we all have a wish list of financial goals. I want to buy that car. I want to buy that house. I want to take that international vacation every 2 years. I want to buy that jewelry every once in a while. But for a moment, let's just put down our top three financial goals. Let's look at point Y, which is where do we want to go? Just put down your top three financial goals. So, and the way I would request you to put the goals is not that I want to buy a car. That's not a goal. I want to buy a car in 2024. Even that is not a goal. If you say I want to buy a car worth 5 lakh rupees in 2024, with that specificity, that is a goal. So I would urge you to put down those top three goals, which is whatever amount you need, which is the year that you need it in, and what is the purpose that you want to save for. What actually happens when you do that exercise is you change your approach at times, because you understand that, hey, I put these things down, but you know what, I would think buying a home is more important to me than buying a car. I can do with this car for a couple of more years and maybe channelize that money towards the down payment on my home. So put down those top three financial goals. And coming to point X, which is what we all tend to ignore, is where we are today. Of course, there's all these financial aspirations that we do have, but it also is important to look at where we are today. So just do a quick check on whatever investments you may have. It may be just money lying in your bank account. It may be money in your provident fund account of your employer. It could be any other savings plan. Just do a quick assessment of where you are today, because you know what, like between where we are today and where we want to get to, there's a lot that needs to be done. And the whole the whole purpose of today's conversation is to talk about how we're going to bridge that gap, because things are going to change over the years, which is, of course, salaries will improve. Maybe we'll see another year like 2020, which is going to be terrible for most of us. So planning and having some structure to this stuff is really going to change a lot for us. So yeah, what might happen, like I said, when you do that, you might have to move some goals. You may realize, yeah, buying a car not important, saving for my sister's education more important, uh, and so on and so forth. Thank you, Anjali, for sharing your goals with us. I think that's great. Also, to help me understand from everyone, and I don't want to know amounts here, of course. I just want to know what products are you investing in currently? What are certain financial products that you are investing in currently? It could be anything. It could just literally be saying, hey, Dipika, just leave my money in the bank account. Okay, funds, mutual funds. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, fixed deposits, all right. Cool. So I think typically it is investments like funds, not so common, unfortunately. Fixed deposits, of course, and as Anjali is saying, there is your employee provident fund. You perhaps have LIC policies. You perhaps have a public provident fund with SBI or with your post office, etc. So that's typically our investment solutions that we figured out for ourselves so far. So coming back to the goals bit, and I know this might look like, this diagram from any textbook, but it is extremely helpful to just put down your financial goals in these three buckets. Oh, Shreya, you can invest. If you just turn 18, you can get your PAN card and you can start investing. Yeah, that's probably, I'm so jealous of your age. I'm almost double your age now, and I wish I had started investing at 18. It would have been so different for me now. So yeah, I think just putting down your goals for a larger part of our audience today. Maybe it could be planning for my higher education. You know what? I'm young. I want to cover some costs of my wedding a little later, so I want to build some funds for that. So put down your goals in these three buckets, which could be immediate, anything that you might need in the next 1 year, medium, which is 3 to 5 years. It could be a down payment on a home. It could be that international vacation, some other big ticket purchase, that Louis Vuitton bag. There's nothing wrong in wanting and buying that as long as it's planned for. And long term, of course, there's retirement, marriage, children's education. But this is just an indicator to give you how you should be bucketing your goals. Not all these goals may be relevant to everyone. They're going to be different for each one of us. And what I've done here is below each category, I've put down a certain type of mutual fund that helps you get to those goals in a more structured and in a disciplined manner. So it's very simple to link investments and goals. It's not complicated at all. Like we said, for your immediate financial goals, which could be anything coming up in the next 12 months, uh, leaving your money in your savings bank account, leaving it in an FD or liquid funds is not a bad idea, because you can't take risk with that money. You know you definitely need it. So if somebody's telling you, hey, Anjali, invest like X amount now, you're going to double it in 3 months, and you know for sure you need that money in 3 months, you should not be doing that at all, because it just doesn't make sense taking any risk with any money that you need anytime soon. Short-term goals could be anything you would need in the next 2 to 3 years, not 2 to 3 years, 1 to 3 years. So again, you can look at a combination of debt mutual funds. You can look at a combination of FDs, balanced funds. And quick thing here, I know some of these words may be new to you. And in the interest of time, I may not be able to dive into explaining each of these funds, which is why if you have downloaded bases, and I think Aisha's also linked it down in the YouTube link, if you download the app, a lot of these terms are explained in an extremely digestible format, and it will be helpful for you to learn. And again, medium term goals, any money you need in the next 3 to 5 years. It could be this balance funds, it could be bonds, it could be FDs, it could be gold. So basically, as your goals are like further away, over time you can build that great diversification of investments, and you don't have to do everything right now. If you're 18 or if you're 20, you don't have to open that stock account and that PPF and gold and real estate and equity funds. You don't have to do everything at one time. It can all be structured and planned in a very systematic manner. But just putting down these categories of immediate, short term, medium, and long term gives you a lot of clarity in terms of whether your money is going to work for you or not. For example, if somebody has an LIC policy where you're going to pay a premium for 20 years, guess what? That's not going to help you with your short term goals or even your medium term goals, because that's only going to mature 20 years later. So I think the problem is a lot of us have approached money where we first invest it and then we figure out where it fits into our life. But we have to work differently, where we first identify what our needs are, and then we pick those products that help us uh, that help us really get there. uh, Shreya, I'm so glad to know that is so heartening to hear. And please continue using the app. I think you probably have been through the boosters. I think they're a great way to learn, irrespective of age and stage. And like I said, you're 18, you can get your PAN card, you can start investing. Yeah. So here's what I've done. I'm sorry, I'm using Shreya's example again and again, but now that she's mentioned her age, I think it's so relevant to just look at and talk about it from that perspective. What I've done here is I've taken the example of someone who invests, 10,000 rupees, and this is I've put down 10,000. It could be 1,000 rupees a month. It doesn't have to be 10,000 a month, depending on what you can afford, how much you can save, how much you can invest. So I've taken the example of somebody who invests 10,000 rupees every month. She started in 2001. She invested in a mutual fund through a method called SIP. And I'm going to repeat this once again because SIP is a method of investing. It is not a fund. So, for instance, EMI is a method of paying off your loans. Likewise, an SIP is a systematic method of investing. So, this 10,000 rupees could be in three SIPs of 4,000 and 3,000 and three different funds. So an SIP is not a fund because at the end of this session, I might get a question saying, hey, Dipika, tell me which SIP fund to do. It's a method of investing. So yeah, so this particular girl started investing in 2001. She continued investing in 2003 when there was, some uncertainty in the global markets. Of course, continued investing in 2008 and 9. For the most part, we are aware it was a global financial crisis. Some part of it we saw last year. She didn't stop even then. She continued investing in 2013 also, and again there was some uncertainty in just the global economy. She basically just stuck out that investment in a fund, and at the end of which she had invested 21.6 lakhs. And these are actual funds; these are Indian funds, but I've removed the names so that we don't. The idea is not for you to copy that name and invest. The idea is for you to understand this system of investing. So in Fund A, which is, of course, the best performing fund that we're looking here, that 21.6 lakhs has grown to 2.9 crores approximately at a 25% return year on year. In the worst performing fund, let's assume, you know what, Deepika chose the worst fund in the market. In the worst performing fund, that 21.6 lakhs has grown to about 1.6 crores at about 19% year on year. Quick question here. In the worst performing fund also, is it a bad return? Is it a bad return? Okay, Anjali says no. Aisha says no. So the point I'm making here is not that invest in the worst performing fund. The point I'm making here is it is important to stay disciplined and just pursue those investments. There will be bad times, of course. It's just prone. It's a function of like economics. There will be bad times, but if we can afford to, and if we know what we're doing, it is a good idea to stick on with your investments without making too many changes. Of course, you need to make changes when a particular fund hasn't done well for the last 2 years. Yes, you definitely need to relook at it, but it's not necessary to do this like all the time. Yeah. So I love this one. I'm sure some of you have heard of it before. It's called the rule of 72. Basically, 72 divided by whatever interest rate you're earning on a product is going to tell you how many years it'll take you to double that investment. And I'm going to need your help here. So I did see a question from Anjali earlier, and Anjali, you will be able to answer this for yourself. So if I'm not wrong, I think RDs are at about a 5 or a 6% interest currently. So if you could tell me that how many years will it take you for you to double your money in a recurring deposit? Let's assume it's at a 6% interest. How many years is it going to take you to double your money in a recurring deposit? It's just 72 divided by the rate of interest. Anybody? It's not that hard. 12, 12. Okay. Does that sound good? 12 years to double my money. I'm going to change this question here. Let's assume we didn't put this money in a fixed deposit or a recurring deposit. We put it in a balanced fund which is giving me like a 12% return over a 5 to 7 year period. Let's assume it's giving me a 12% return. How long is it going to take me to double my money in that scenario? 6, right? So I think when you're evaluating investments, it's also important to evaluate, that rate of return. Is it going to even help me get to my uh, goals? And I do want to talk about the next slide for a moment, because you can add this up all together once you do it. This is the reality. So for all of you investing in FDs, RDs, I'm just going to explain this to you. You will be able to answer this for yourselves. So I've just taken the rise in price of certain goods and education, etc., over the last 10 years. So a bottle of cola, which costed rupees 55 in 2010 or 11, is 90 rupees right now. It's gone up by 63%. Milk, which a liter of milk, as silly as it might sound, a liter which costed 22 rupees in 2010 or 11 is at about 45 rupees a liter right now. I think for everyone, you can apply, irrespective of which country you are in, just you can apply your own number here and look at that inflation. But talking in the context of India, so milk has gotten expensive by about 100%. Education, a degree which costed about 13.5 lakh rupees 10 years ago, is at about 23 lakh rupees right now, which means it's gone up by about 70%. Quick question for you all here. For anybody who has been working for 10 years or more, or if you know someone who's been working for 10 years or more, including a parent, have our salaries gone up by that much? If someone was earning 22 lakhs 10 years ago, are they earning 45 lakhs right now? Yes, no. This is a yes and no answer. It's not more complicated. No, no. Hell no. Okay. Yeah, so point being, okay, inflation not in our control. These rise in price of like goods and services not in our control. Income not in our control for the part at least where we see years like 2020. And I think 2020 affected everyone, whether you were 21 or whether you were 25 or 35. It affected everybody across the board and in very different ways. So inflation not in my control. At particular years, you know what? My salary hikes will not be in my control because there are things beyond just just my performance at work. There are other factors that affect hikes as well. So inflation not in my control, salary hikes not in my control. And I'd like to refer to the next bit here, which will give you much more clarity. So I've just drawn this inflation line, which is 7.3% approximately, which means every year things are getting expensive by about 7.3%. Below the inflation line, I have put down products that do not beat inflation. And above the inflation line, I have put down products that do beat inflation. So for those who were asking me about FDs and RDs, the answer is here for you. FDs and RDs do not beat inflation. So technically, you're probably not making money, but you're losing money when you're investing in a FD or an RD. Your investment should at least, if not able to beat inflation, it should at least meet that number. So you're like squared off. But if you're over invested in any of that, then you're really not making any money at all. While bonds and PPF do not beat inflation, it's still good to have in your portfolio. I think your employee provident fund, your public provident fund are good to have in your portfolio. Gold again, if you're looking at buying gold, I would urge you to look at buying gold in a financial form for investment purposes. If it's for consumption, if it's for me to wear, of course I'm going to buy physical gold. But if it's for an investment objective, then buy it in financial form. You can do gold mutual funds, you can do gold exchange traded funds, you can do gold bonds. There are various financial forms of gold, and physical gold does not have to be the default option. Of course, there's the issue of security, safety, and again, costs when you're trying to sell it, etc. Doesn't make sense. Real estate is a tricky investment. You first need to make that down payment on that mortgage and service that EMI for several years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I'm guessing I'm talking to a lot of Gen Z and millennials here, and including myself, where we probably think, you know what, I'm better off living in a rented home. It gives me the freedom to move around. Plus, that excess amount, I can invest it where my money will actually grow, and real estate may not be that place. Which leaves us with equities and equity funds. Again, if you have the capacity to take risk, you can perhaps consider these investment options. But if you're not comfortable with risk, then I would suggest that you probably start with like a balanced fund and then like develop your knowledge and just the way you save differently over time. So I think in the interest of time, I am going to just try and wrap this up here so that we do have questions. But I do want to do one exercise with y'all, and especially for those who do have the app with you. And Aisha, I would like to get you on here uh, for this particular calculation. So I know I'm not able to share my screen, but basically what I'm going to do is I've just gone onto the Basis app and I'm just going to do like a goal creation activity with Aisha.
Okay.
So cool. So Aisha, if you just hit on advisory and you hit on goal creation.
Just one moment. Okay. Advisory, right?
Yeah, advisory and hit on goal creation.
Okay. Yep. All
And
right.
let's assume you put a travel goal. Let's just assume you're putting that trip you want to take.
Okay. So I'll click on travel
Yeah,
and
click on travel. Choose the year, choose the month.
okay. I'm planning a big travel, like a world tour of sorts. So I'm assuming that will happen in say about um 5 or 6 years.
Okay, so 2026.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. So 2026. And if I were to ask you in today's terms, Aisha, how much do you think that's going to cost you? Don't think about it in 2026. Think about if I were to have taken that world tour now, what's the amount it's going to cost me?
Well, it depends. So the kind of world tour would want to take is more of like a traveler and not a tourist.
Yeah.
So that would I would personally want to have at least say 30 lakhs with me minimum.
In today's terms, so if I were to say, Aisha, today you're taking that trip, you
And
need 30 lakhs.
this world trip would be not for a short term. It would be for many months. So that's why I'm keeping that. Uh,
Okay, let's do this. I'm not doing this to scare you, but then it might be a little scary.
I don't
So,
want to.
yeah, if you can just put down that 30 lakh amount here.
Should I put a lower number?
No, it's fine. Let's do this.
All right. Okay. Done.
So what this does is it's telling us that that goal of your that travel, which is 30 lakhs today, is going to cost you about 48 lakhs.
Guys,
Uh,
can you see this? Yeah.
yes. It's going to cost you about 48 lakhs 5 years from now because travel
Wow.
inflation is 10%, while other inflation we're looking here is 7%. Travel is about 10% year on
Interesting.
year.
So for every different type of goal, it gives us the inflation rate as well.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
like super cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, because education and travel especially grew at much higher
Yeah,
inflation rates. Cool.
yeah,
So when you hit on next, so what you need to do here is choose your risk profile. Uh, in case those of you who don't know your risk profile, there is a link there which says short test, where you can assess your risk profile. Just keeping your goal in mind, Aisha, I would say choose moderately aggressive because this is an aggressive goal.
yeah. It is okay. Wow.
So I didn't make up any of these numbers. So what this now tells us is if Aisha needs to get to this goal, she needs to save 65,000 every
This is
month.
like a punch on my face saying, "Hey, wake up! What are you doing? Stop buying things that you don't need." It's exactly telling me that. Oh,
And I
that's
think,
nice.
yeah, if we were to just have looked at it differently, if this was someone else's goal, which was, you know what, I need 3 lakhs in today's terms, 5 years from now, you would need to save about 6,500 every month to get to that amount 5 years from now. And what this also does is then we do give you some suggestions in terms of where to invest. You needn't necessarily have to follow these. I think what is more critical is just you analyzing how much you need to save for a particular goal. And I think in the and again, just so that we have time to take questions, when you hit the advisory section, and I think every woman, irrespective of age, should do this, whether you're 18 or 28. Do the retirement calculation. If you're 18, you will be amazed at how little you need to start saving to get to that retirement number, because you're not going to think of retirement when you're 40 and say, Acha, I want to retire in 5 years, let me start saving now. That's not going to work for anybody. So everyone should be doing this exercise, and especially like for you, Asha, for instance, if you're planning that holiday, you're also probably
Yeah,
going to take that
yeah,
career break,
yeah,
right? So we also have this career break calculator where you can see, okay, I'm taking this break for a year. What is it going to cost me? How much do I need to save to have that money in the bank account to survive very well for that 1 year or 2 years? Yeah, I would urge you to play around with it. Do
yeah.
explore the boosters. This 45 minutes may not do justice to all that we need to talk about money, but the boosters on the app are extremely helpful to learn in a very digestible format. In fact, we just 2 days ago, I was talking to somebody and she was like, you know, she has a a small baby, and she was like, oh, at 10 o'clock, once I put my child to sleep, I go through the boosters for 10 minutes and learn something new. So I would urge you to do the boosters. We have a community section where you can very candidly ask any question related to money, not just investing. How do I negotiate my salary? How do I write a good resume? And you will get answers not just from experts, but even women like you who are in a similar situation or have been through that. Uh, cool. So, with that, we've wrapped up the conversation part of this. Okay,
Yes.
so Mansi's question, I am a bit late, wanted to ask about buying a home in metro cities like Mumbai. Uh, do you think it's worth it? Mansi, I cannot specifically point out because it's even in these cities, it's very different, right? Which part of Mumbai are you buying that house in? What is the objective? Is it for living in that place? Is it for investment purposes? So I don't think I'm in a place to comment as specifically about real estate, especially like city centric, because you really need to evaluate, like I said, are you investing to live in that home? Are you investing as an investment? You want some rental on it? You want to sell it after 10 years and things like that. But if I were to just give you a reference point here, and I live in Bangalore, so I can talk about Bangalore. There were a lot of people about 15, 20 years ago who bought homes near the airport, which made sense, right? Like all the hotels are going to come up here. Everyone's going to be going to the airport. There are going to be like restaurants around it. There's going to be a buzz. And before anything, before you even knew, the airport shifted like 40 kilometers away from the other airport, and everything changed. The real estate value of that old airport and everything around it changed and very drastically, and it came down. So real estate is not in your control. Again, there are small things that affect it. It could be like a metro rail being put. It could be like just like a sewage near the house. And I know I'm saying these are silly examples, but this really affects the value of real estate. So you need to consider multiple factors before making that decision. So Shreya, when you hit on the goal, I mean, when you hit on the advisory section, there's goal creation. Under retirement and career planning, there is goal creation. So hit on goal creation, and you should be able to get to it. Anjali, I know we may not be able to take the tax question, but again, when you hit on advisory, there is one specific section on tax savings. You can have a look at that. And we also have, I think, 3 boosters on tax saving options and filing taxes. You can also go through that. And I promise you, it's not going to take you more than 10 minutes to learn about a new topic. Other questions, ladies?
I think that's about it. We don't have any more questions even on our
Okay.
YouTube page. Uh, this was a great session. I mean, my whole relationship with money and finance will definitely change after this, speaking for me. And the app is really cool. I mean, especially for people like us who are young and who are confused with what to do, who have not been given a lot of knowledge about how to manage your money. I think this app does a great job. So thank you so much, Deepika. Guys, do download the app. It's in the description. And also sign up on Fusia. And do hit the subscribe button because we have many more interesting topics as such coming up. So do hit that subscribe button so that you get notified. All right, Deepika, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, this session was really nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. You all can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just Dipika Jaikishan on LinkedIn, or otherwise, any questions you can also put it on the app. And thank you, Fusia and Aisha, for having me. It was a fun conversation, especially considering we were talking to such young people, which is very different for me. So this was great. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye, guys.